Welcome to Dexon Photography, onto the Canon 6D Mark II review. The camera is filming now. I have it here with a 24mm lens on it at f1.2. And we can go straight into what's the most crazy thing about this camera, and that's the autofocus in live view. Now live view means you can see on the screen what you're filming or photographing, and until recently there was no option to have an autofocus while filming. And now take a look. I get closer to the camera and I'm in focus at f1.4 on a full frame camera. That is incredible. And I have a flip out screen. Next to the camera I see exactly that my face is on the screen. It's sharp. I can see if I'm out of the screen or when I'm in the screen. And this is something that no other camera offers in the full frame market right now. To have a flip out screen so you can see, am I in the frame or not? Is the image too bright or not? I'm filming now with the picture style monochrome, which is black and white. The image is unedited, it's straight from the camera, 24mm f1.4. And let me give you my experience. Now I've been 1 month here in Spain, in the south of Spain near Malaga, and I've had the whole month with this camera. And now it's time for me to give you my experience. Now the Canon 6D Mark II is probably the worst camera from the last year, 2017. At least that's what f-stoppers say. A big online magazine about photography. They called the 6D Mark II the worst camera of 2017. And I bought it, and I want to give you my experience with it. I've taken many pictures here for 1 month and many videos also, all small clips. And this will be a very free talk about what I like and what I don't like about this camera. And if you want to go a little bit more organized and look more depth into the review, I have written an ebook with many images, edited, unedited, straight from the camera, with all the settings, ISO 100, 400, 800, 40,000, which is the highest ISO natively. And in the ebook you will find many more images, but in this video I will just talk about it very freely, just what I think is most important about it to know. And I will put another download link in the description where I give you raw images and JPEGs straight from the camera, unedited, so you can just handle them how you wish. You can edit them. And so let's start with the camera. Now first of all, it's the version 2 of the Canon 6D. Now I have the Canon 6D Mark I and I've taken over 1 million images with it. I have 2 of them and both still work. One has 300,000 images taken, the other 800,000 images taken. And I think that's crazy that it still works. And I've never cleaned the sensor. I've never done anything good to it actually. And that's the reason why I went for the Mark II. I neglected all the negative stuff I read about it. I thought, I have to test it myself. Is it really that bad? And what I feel is that it's such a joy to use this camera. Now people complain about the autofocus. And the camera has 45 autofocus points, which are nearly here, which are centered when you look through the viewfinder, when you look through the camera. But when you go to live view, you have so many autofocus points because all the screen is in autofocus. Now when I'm filming now, and when I get closer to the camera, I'm in focus. When I am at the edge of the camera, now you see distortion because it's a wide angle lens. I'm on the edge of the camera, I'm in focus, and I see on the screen here next to it, I see that my face is in focus. I can just hold this camera up and I'm in focus. And when I can be on the edge of the screen and I'm in focus. And that is something I don't understand, how people say the autofocus system is bad or not good enough, when actually when you go to live view, the autofocus is everywhere. And it's so fast. It's really fast. And it works all the time. It's so precise. You have to remember, I'm shooting at f1.4. This is the widest, this is the most open aperture that you can use. And I'm shooting with the 24mm lens. Now you might say 24mm is a wide angle lens. It's easy to get something in focus. Now what I just did, before I took the video, I took a video with this, which is 85, let me just point this out, which is 85 1.2. Now you see what I just did, I touched on the touch screen onto the lens. Now the camera has the lens in focus. Not my face anymore, but the lens. Because on the touch screen, I touched on this lens. Now when I take my finger, touch on my face again, here on the touch screen, guess what? I am back in focus. While I'm filming, I can use the touch screen for whatever I like. I can change the aperture now, go to f1.6, f1.8, f2.0. I can change all settings while I'm filming and while I'm taking pictures, all on the touch screen. Now back to the autofocus. I took this lens on the camera, 85mm. It's a beast. It's really crazy. I put it to f1.2 and I shot a video where I moved towards the camera and away from it. And I took some pictures at f1.2, and guess how I took the pictures? I have a remote control. It's a cheap Yongnuo something, Yongnuo RF603. Cost me 20 euros, 25 euros. One on the camera, one in my hand. When I push this button here, the camera takes a picture automatically with my face in focus. I don't have to push somewhere. The camera recognizes faces automatically, primarily faces. They focus on faces automatically. And I can shoot at 85mm, 1.2. With the camera on tripod, I'm standing somewhere. I can see me on the screen. I can see if my face is on the screen or off the screen because I got a flip out screen. And I can take selfies of me with this thing easily. That's the only full frame camera on the market right now that can do that, because there's a flip out screen. There's no other camera that can do that. 85 f1.2. And this makes this camera incredible for people who want to be big on Instagram. Because I can take so many pictures of me now beautifully with the shallow depth of field background. I am in focus easily just with the push of a button. I don't have to ask anybody, can you take a picture of me please? If I want to go on Instagram and I want to post something daily, I need to have pictures of me daily. And I can now do it with the tripod and with this thing. This tripod fits in my bag. It fits down here. And here's the camera. I can have this with me everywhere, take pictures of me everywhere, and I show you all the images that I put into the video now of me, or me and my girlfriend, or me and my son. I took these images all with this thing, camera on the tripod, autofocus on faces. I don't have to care about autofocus at all. Video, photo, it does it all. And this is working so great at all apertures, 50mm 1.2, 85mm 1.2. And I don't understand why so few people in their reviews talk about it, because it's a game changer. If you want to do YouTube, you can put the camera on the tripod, talk to it at f1.4. That is a game changer. You don't have to manually focus. Am I in focus? When I move back, when I move towards the camera, am I still in focus? You don't have to care about it. You can talk to the camera. You see on the flip out screen, there are no clouds here. When the clouds leave, the sun comes out. When the sun comes out, all the image will be way too bright. I see it now on the screen, and I can adapt on the flip out screen, or I can adapt here on the camera. And there is no other camera that can do that. So the 6D Mark II is incredible for people who want to be on Instagram or who want to do much on YouTube. There is no other camera that can do that easily. Now I've seen people putting up a monitor on their Sony a7S, a monitor on the camera with the cable connected to the camera. Now and every time when you put the camera onto the tripod, you have to put the monitor onto the tripod. And I think even though it works, I think it's a pain, because sometimes you might lose the cable, you might have left it at home, the monitor might not have enough battery. And if I imagine when I take these images and videos, I have to put a monitor on the camera with the cable every time, inside the bag, outside. It's such a joy to have a flip out screen. And until now there's no other full frame camera that can do that. Now there are some monitors that you can tilt, but you can't move them so you can see them from the other side. So this is the perfect full frame Instagram and YouTube camera. And that is huge because many people want to do Instagram and YouTube. And that is what this camera is all about. It's about lifestyle. It's not a camera that competes technically. There are many cameras, you know, when you take a look at them on a nerdy level, you know, tech nerd, you know, how many megapixels, how many autofocus points, you know, people who take a look at the spec sheet and value the spec sheet more than what's capable with this camera of creating. And of course, Sony a7 R3 has more megapixels, more autofocus points on paper, better dynamic range. But this camera handles so well. It's such a joy to use, and it's so easy to use. You know, I can just get this camera off the tripod, hold it in my hands, and I hold it just in my hand. It just film me and walk around, and I see me next to the lens. The camera also has a digital image stabilizer, so I haven't put it on here, but if I film with the 50mm lens handheld, I put it on and I get an image that is stable at 50mm full frame with any lens. The lens doesn't have image stabilizer. It's the camera that has image stabilizer with any lens. It's digital, which means the image will be a little bit cut, but it works really well. And from my experience, this is such a joyful camera to use. This camera is not there to compete. This is not saying, I am the best camera, show me the competition, I'll kill it. This is not the camera to compete. This is the camera to produce. This is the camera for people who don't care about dynamic range, who don't care about, oh, it's a UHS-1 SD card slot. These people don't, if you're on YouTube or Instagram, you don't care about the tech stuff of the camera and how it competes with other. You care about you being able to produce for your content. You want to produce for what's important to you, and you don't care about the technical stuff. If this camera has 13 stops of dynamic range or 15 or just 11, it's irrelevant. Now, all these images that you see in the book below, I've given you a ton of images straight from the camera unedited, and I can say these look beautiful. And if I edit them, it's only because of style. It's only because I'm used to editing images. I do it with all images I take, and I just do it to give it a little bit more personal style. But I can use all these images unedited straight from the camera. And there are not so many positive reviews of this camera, and I thought it's my turn now to give you my experience with it. This is not a technical review where I take a picture of a brick wall with this camera and another camera and say, you know, the brick in row 4 is sharper on this camera than on that. This is not a technical review. This is real use, world life use for somebody who takes pictures every day. And I'm usually taking weddings, and imagine this autofocus on as a wedding videographer. Getting faces in focus. Now I see on the flip out screen, my face is way too bright, I have to change the settings. Now for a wedding videographer, you get the faces in focus even at an open aperture. And that is so important and so difficult to do without autofocus in video, which is new. And Canon is leader in autofocus in video mode. You might say Sony a7 R3 has video AF. Yes, it has, but it's not as good as dual pixel AF. And that's not what I say, that's what the tech guys say. So for 1,750 euros, that's what I paid for this camera, you get a lot, and you get things that you can't get anywhere else, which is the flip out screen, which is the touch screen that works with everything you do. All the menu systems you can control with the touch screen. You can set now while recording, you can change the settings on the touch screen. The implementation of what this camera is able to do is incredible. It's just incredible. Now let's talk a little bit about video quality. Now, and there are two things that I think about video with this camera. On a technical level, the image quality is bad. On a technical level, which means there is no 4K. And when you film something with much with much texture. So maybe you film a tree, or let me just take a look. Maybe you film a tree closely and the leaves are moving. What you will find then is that it will look noisy. So if you should find details of something with many textures, the image doesn't look so nice. But when you film people and you open up the aperture a little bit, so you get something sharp in the frame and many things blurred out, you get very beautiful images, beautiful colors. I've put some videos into the ebook below and a link as well. So video samples straight from the camera, and the colors, the aesthetics of the video is beautiful. It's just beautiful. I shot videos with my son, 50mm 1.2 at 1.2. I'm moving towards him, I'm moving away from him, and it's all in focus. And it looks beautifully because it's a full frame sensor and you get a blurry background. That is incredible. So there is a bad side about the video, that is the codec is not so nice. So when you want to shoot everything sharp, it doesn't look so nice. But when you want to get a nice aesthetics with a blurry background, this camera produces beautiful videos. What else can I say? Now, image quality, the Canon 6D Mark I is incredible as this camera is. There are people complaining about the dynamic range, but I mean all cameras that you buy today, all cameras that are out there above 1,300 euros will give you everything you ever need. They will give you everything you ever need. If you complain about a camera that's over 1,500 euros, you say you can't take great pictures with it. It's not about the camera. It's not the camera that fails, it's the person who uses it. I find that the Canon 6D Mark I is all I need. I bought this camera because I wanted to take videos of my son with autofocus. That's why I bought it, because I'm here for 1 month and I bought it therefore. I will continue using the 6D Mark I because it's so great. And I will continue using this mainly as my video camera and as my lifestyle camera. This is the perfect lifestyle camera. Instagram, YouTube, pictures of yourself, video, autofocus, incredible. And for a more detailed look, take a look at the ebook. Now, two things that I don't like about this camera that are key, that are very sad. With the Canon 6D, let me just go against the light. With the Canon 6D Mark I always shoot in, oh, let me just go with the light. And with the Canon 6D Mark I always shoot in silent mode. And because the Canon 6D Mark I works perfectly in silent mode. It's silent and I can take many pictures with it. Now with the Canon 6D Mark II, it also has the silent mode, but it's louder. And that's a pain. It's a pain. After 5 years of development, the silent mode is louder than on the 6D Mark I. And it's a huge thing because over the last 900,000 images I've taken in silent mode. And now I see that on the new camera it's louder and it's slower. Now the Canon 6D Mark II can go up to 6.5 frames per second, more than the Mark I. But in silent mode it's slower, and it's slower than the Mark I, and that's a pain. That's really a pain. It's incredible how this important feature that you will need for every image you take, especially on weddings, you will need it for every image, and it's worse than on the Mark I. And that's the most important negative point of this camera, which is huge, which I think is a huge disappointment. All the other things people talk about, autofocus, dynamic range, I don't see it. I really don't see it. Now when you go scientifically into it, compared to other cameras, it's there. Other cameras are better in dynamic range, better here, better there. But in real world use, it's very hard to mess up an image. It's really hard to mess up an image with this camera. It's very hard. But the silent mode, it's too loud and it's too slow. Now it's okay, but it's slower than, it was really a big disappointment when I thought, wait a minute, it's too slow. Where can I change, where can I make it faster to get even the 6D Mark I speed? But I couldn't. Only with the normal, this camera takes many, you can take many pictures per frame, 6.5, which is, I think, which is way enough. But it's loud. And in silent mode, it's way slower, and that is the only negative thing I can say. The price is great, what it can do is great, the autofocus is great, the image quality is great. You know, the feeling of using this camera is great. Just the how I use it is a great feeling to use it. And the only things that are negative about it, I can say, is the silent mode. And I think that's totally fine. That's totally fine. So yeah, that was it with the video version of this review. And I hope, you know, there is clouds coming and going all the time. I hope it's okay for you now with the different settings that I had to use here with the lighting. I hope you don't put this negatively. So that was my experience now with the Canon 6D Mark II. I'll keep it, obviously. I've made the decision when I bought it to keep it. And I hope I could give you a different view about it. And I will now give you many images to take a look at, to show you the most important thing about this camera, which is the images that it can produce. Thank you very much.